Every day, we have the ability and opportunity to create a more accepting world by actively coming together and living inclusively.
Even small acts of inclusion can have a big impact on making others feel loved and accepted.
Bias and discrimination are some of the most pressing issues facing our nation. While the vast majority of Americans consider themselves unprejudiced, many of us unintentionally make snap judgments about people based on what we see, whether it's race, age, gender, religion, sexuality, or ability.
Because most people don't see themselves as part of the problem, they don't recognize that they can be part of the solution.
Before anything else, we're all human.
You can start a conversation to create deeper connections.
Consider whose voices are and are not represented.
Ask yourself if you've ever found yourself staring at people with disabilities or looking away and making them feel invisible.
Learn how you can come together at lovehasnolabels.com. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
We'd like to mention at the beginning of the show that this episode contains discussion of sex work and sex workers and Johns. So if that's something that may trigger you, please be warned.
Hi, I'm Parker.
And I'm Mike. And this is the Graphic Novel Podcast.
Welcome to our new podcast on the art of the graphic novel. Mike is the author of 10 books and produced Comics TV, which was a weekly TV show on comics for 7 years back in the 90s.
Back in the olden days. Together, we produced Northwest Brew Talk about the beer industry in the Northwest for 2 years. Now we're back, and this show is all about graphic novels.
Welcome to this week's episode of the Graphic Novel Podcast. How's it going, Parker?
It's going.
It's going.
How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing good.
Are you excited for our topic today?
I'm really excited because at the end of the show, I'm going to be giving my email address and my phone number because we may be divorced.
You can give it out anyway.
Oh, okay. But yeah, this is going to be an interesting one tonight. We're going to be talking about a book by Chester Brown called Paying for It. And it's interesting. I think we have almost completely different takes on the book. And
I'm not at all surprised. I think a lot of it comes from the fact that you've followed them for a while.
Probably. That could be part of it. Yeah. But before that...
I kind of want to take that down.
No, you can't. Before that, though, couple things. Last week on the last episode, we talked about several things. We featured Alice Oseman and her book Heartstopper.
Yes. And
we talked about how graphic novels, we wondered how exactly what was
who the audience was.
Right. And we talked about young people. And the Wall Street Journal came out with a story about how graphic novels are taking off with young readers.
Right.
And the graphic novels not superhero related have gone up in sales by hundreds of millions.
Do they call graphic novels that are superhero related graphic novels?
If
they're comics,
if
right?
They're graphic novels, not comic books.
So what different? Oh, just the comic books, so just like the zines kind of thing.
The comic book of 32
or
pages.
Or zines are only when they're
small. Usually small. They're not the same. A comic book, 32 pages. When they take like a whole storyline and put it together, like 10 issues of Spider-Man, and they put it into a book form, then it's a graphic novel, basically.
They do that?
Yeah. Not for all of them. But
I don't think we own a single superhero graphic novel.
I do have one. Miracle Man. I forgot who did it. But I bought that because back in the 90s, I had read Miracle Man. I was reading them. And I was interested in this. And was it Neil Gaiman who did this one? I forgot.
Idea.
It's not here. It's downstairs. But anyhow, the graphic novel, what's happening is for younger people, they're getting turned on to them because they're real topics. They're talking about things like divorce and, adolescence and
queerness,
stuff that would appeal to to children or young adults, you
Right.
know. So it's really cool, and it was timely that story came out. You know, divorce, things like that they deal with.
Right.
And you know, one of the guys in the article was quoted saying his son didn't read, and now he's reading graphic novels. You know, devouring them.
Right. Right.
And our child too reads these Diary of a Wimpy Kid and stuff, and they're
Yeah, you know, that is kind of where it started, isn't it?
yeah, there's tons of them. They've got tons.
What's
of
the
them.
other one?
Dogman and all.
Captain Underpants.
Captain Underpants. Yeah, those are pretty much graphic novels, and they're huge sellers. Huge.
Yeah.
So,
I wonder if that kind of kicked it off a little bit.
well, no, it said that
Because that became really popular with the movie.
it did, but they said that this going back to the early 2000s.
Oh, really?
The manga stuff from Japan, that was suddenly something that was appealing to younger people.
Yeah.
What about Alice?
What about Alice?
Tell
Some cool
us.
stuff going on with Heartstopper. Working on making it for TV.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
That would be cool.
We probably won't get it here, though. We're not quite that
it'd
lucky.
probably be British, but we might be able to pick it up.
Oh my God, British shows. I'm such a sucker for British
So
shows.
it's going to be, the season will be 3 episodes long, and we'll have to wait like 10 years.
Yeah, that's how they do it.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, that sounds really cool. And again, there you go, appealing to that adolescent audience.
Yeah, they were asking for advice from bi people too.
Oh yeah, very
Yeah.
cool, very cool, awesome.
So, yeah, that's exciting. I mean, I hope we get to see it.
All right, and now to the meat and potatoes of this episode.
Meat and potatoes.
Meat and potatoes. They're going to be mashed all over my face.
If you're lucky.
We're talking about a man named Chester Brown, best known for his 2 recent nonfiction graphic novels, Louis Riel, a comic strip biography, and Paying for It, a comic strip memoir about being a John, which is what we're going to be talking about tonight. Paying for It was cited by the Globe and Mail, which is a Canadian, I think, Toronto paper, as one of the best books of the year of 2011.
Seriously?
Autobiographical recounting of Brown's experiences paying prostitutes for sex won both praise and condemnation. He was born in Montreal, Canada on May 16th, 1960. Grew up in the nearby suburb of something, Chateauguay.
You got that French in you, huh?
Chateauguay. At 19, he moved to Toronto, where in 1983 he began self-publishing his work in photocopied mini comics under the title Yummy Fur. I remember Yummy Fur.
Do you?
Yep.
Wow.
Those pamphlets attracted the attention of comic book publishers, and in 1986 he began writing and drawing for the Toronto-based Vortex Comics. Yummy Fur, let's see, Ed the Happy Clown, and he did some other stuff that back in the 80s when I hosted Comics TV.
Back in the day.
Comics TV, there were 3 of them that were best friends. There was Seth, Joe Matt, and Chester Brown. They all lived in Toronto. They don't all live in Toronto anymore. Joe Matt moved out of the area. And
This book came out in 2011.
2011.
That's his last book, too? This is his last book that he's had out so far?
I don't think so. I think he's
Because the
doing
one
other
before
stuff.
that was 2003?
Yeah, well, I mean, these things don't pop out. Graphic novel, you can't just pop out overnight.
I know, but 2011 is quite a while ago.
It is. I mean, sounds like it might be. I mean, he's won.
I mean, I'm not complaining.
He's won awards for it. Best book in 2014. So, I mean, I don't know. So he's still doing stuff. But during the course of his research for Louis Riel, he became interested in property rights and libertarianism.
Libertarianism.
Yeah. In 2008 and 2011 federal elections, he ran for parliament as a member of the Libertarian Party of Canada. He lost, but
Wah, wah, wah.
he did run. Anyhow, Paying for It. Why don't you give us a little background on the book itself?
All right. Paying for It combines the personal and sexual aspects of Brown's autobiographical work, I Never Liked You, and The Playboy, with the
poematic drive of Louis Riel. He calmly lays out the facts of how he became not only a willing participant in, but also a vocal proponent of one of the world's most hot-button topics, prostitution. While this may appear overly sensational and just plain implausible to some, Brown's story stands for itself. Paying for It offers an entirely contemporary exploration of sex work, from the timid John who rides his bike to his escorts, wonders how to tip so as not to offend, and reads Dan Savage for advice, to the modern day transactions complete with online reviews, seemingly willing participants, and clean apartments devoid of cliched street corners, drugs, or pimps. Complete with a surprise ending, Paying for It continues to provide endless debate and conversation about sex work.
All right. So
There's one thing we're not going to debate.
what's that?
Sex work. The legalization of sex work, I think we both agree, needs to happen.
Well, he has different classifications.
I'm talking about you and I right now.
Right. I mean, he talks. First of all, let's go back. This is how many pages counting the appendices? Almost 280 pages.
Yeah.
It's a hardback book. I love his artwork, his style. Seth and Joe Matt, they're all very similar. They all have a similar style.
They found each other for a reason.
Yeah, but I like it. It's clean.
Yeah.
But it's clean, but it's nice. I mean, you can look at a picture and, you could look at three guys sitting in a room.
Yeah.
And you know what's going on, and they always look the same. And, they're
objectifying women is what they're doing.
No, I'm talking about. Okay. We're not to that point of the story yet.
You look at three men sitting in a room, you know what they're doing.
So the point of the book is he starts in 2000 and actually starts in 1996 where he had his last girlfriend.
Right.
And they break up basically, but they're still friends, and she allows him to stay living there.
They had a very strange relationship.
It was throughout the entire book.
And it makes me wonder what was really going. I mean, it appears that he's still friends with her. He, had her read it and give her feedback. He has her notes, or he says that he asked for her notes on it, and she said it was fine or whatever. So they still have some type of relationship, which is surprising to me.
Yeah.
Because I kind of wondered, did she really want him to stay there? What was really the situation? Was it just she felt bad for him?
Well, it sounded like they were having minimal sex, and, the relationship was okay, but then she met somebody else that she kind of liked.
Right.
And he's like, well, you know what? Go out with him.
Right.
That's fine. I'll, whatever. I still have my place. I can still live here. I can have my life.
Right.
And she was like, okay, that works for me too.
He did offer to move out though, right? When she got serious with him, right?
Well, yeah, because she got serious with the one guy, and I'm like, I wasn't part of it, so I didn't say it. I didn't say it. I'm like, Chet, no. So that's that, and he realizes that he goes through this, the good and bad in his brain, and he's trying to figure out, should I pay for a prostitute? I don't have sex with my girlfriend. I didn't have sex with my girlfriend, but I want sex.
Yeah, they were broken up.
But I don't want a relationship either. I don't want to get into a relationship just for sex, because with a lot of couples, whether they're married or dating or whatever, at some point, usually sex drops off for most people. It drops off.
I think that has something to do a little bit with compatibility, though, don't you?
Compatibility sometimes, or I don't know what the other word is. Comfortableness, and it just becomes, you become like an old blanket, and it just becomes something that you do to do. Not everybody. I don't think everybody wants sex all the time. And I think some people's libido slow down.
Well, yeah, certainly. But I feel like it usually kind of happens together.
It does. It does. And
this is my personal experience. I guess I should say that.
Right. But so his point was, what should I do? What should I do about this? So he decides to hire a prostitute,
Which I'm okay with. That's
And-
all good.
and he went to what was an in call, where it's basically like a brothel, where they all like stay or live in like a hotel room or an apartment house, and they
I don't remember. Do you remember? Was this legal?
I don't remember which one. I think that
We
that
should probably
was
look it up.
legal. I think that one was legal. I thought
One of them
I thought
wasn't.
the out call wasn't legal, and
Okay.
that's where they actually go out, and like street corner and stuff.
Right.
That wasn't something that he even discussed really in the book. It's mentioned in the appendices.
Right.
And the point of the whole book is he discusses this. He figures out how much he can pay for a prostitute, and he figures he can see one about every 3 weeks.
Yeah, he budgets a prostitute
into his life.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he uses different ones. He calls different ones. He uses like the free papers that you pick up, like the arts papers or whatever.
Make sure that she's young enough for him.
He made sure they were at least 18. He asked them if they were. But the point of the story is that he decides that he would see prostitutes. And as time goes on, he talks to his friends Joe and Seth and other people. His other, I forgot the other woman, like his best friend that he meets with.
Yes, he talks about. I don't remember her.
Yeah, he
name
meets
either.
her quite a bit, and they talk.
Times. Yeah,
and he tells people, I'm seeing a prostitute. I'm doing this, and I feel okay about it. And he uses different people to like bounce ideas off of on like, what do you think? Should prostitution be legal? Should it be decriminalized? And that's really the whole point of it. And it's a memoir. He's got dates. He must have kept dates and
which is creepy as fuck. Honestly.
Descriptions of the women.
Mm-hmm.
And he says in the introduction that he went and he never shows any faces. He doesn't show faces. And he said he said
he changes it. He shows the faces, but he said he changes the way that their faces look.
Right. And he never really gives any details about them. So he changed their names too. So somebody couldn't find who they were.
Right.
But
not that it really, never mind. It doesn't matter.
No, go ahead. What?
It's just so, we haven't gotten into it yet. So I'll just wait a little bit, but. Go ahead.
We haven't gotten into what? I mean, basically, so that's what the book is about.
Right.
But it really gets interesting when you get to the appendices.
I can tell you I never found this book interesting. I never found it interesting, not once.
I found it interesting.
What about it was interesting to you?
It's a memoir. And it's his I mean,
it's interesting that somebody would be so open about seeing prostitutes. Is that I guess that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I guess that. Okay, I find the whole thing interesting. I find his way that he would search for them, that he would look in the newspaper and he'd say, 18-year-old, blonde, big boobs. All right, I'm going to call this one up.
Yeah.
And he'd call, is Wendy there? Oh, Wendy doesn't work here anymore. Then he'd be, I hope she's okay, because he had seen her before. Or, I
don't think he really gave a shit.
He paid.
Okay. I think that he was more disappointed that the one that he knew that he liked wasn't going to be there.
Maybe
it wasn't really about is she okay? Is she dead? Did she pay off her debt because she's a sex? Like in the appendix, like he questions, were they a sex slave? Well, if they were a sex slave, then I would have helped them. But I don't think that they were a sex slave because da 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 da.
Well. Through the book, he's going back and forth, mainly with Seth, but also with Joe, trying to justify his seeing prostitutes.
The whole thing is him trying to justify. Like even in the appendix, you see like his bias for prostitution being legalized is like all that he cares about.
Yes, because Seth thinks, at least in the book, he said in the appendix that. Thinking about it afterwards, that his views may have changed on how he thought about everything. But at the time of the story, he was saying that he thought that it should be run like a business. If it's a business, if somebody's making money off of it, then it should be run like a business. They should be taxed. he believed at this time again that the women should have to go through STD screenings and things like that.
Yeah.
And make it like a regular business.
Right.
But Chester would argue that, what's the difference between a one night stand or something like that, where two people get together and they just have sex, and why wouldn't they have to be tested? And he tried to.
Honestly, my biggest reasoning for that, I would assume that somebody who is a sex worker would want to be tested regularly just to know for themselves, like the potential of who may have given it to them, maybe.
Sure. Well, he said that all of them used condoms.
Or to make sure that they kept, on top of it. If something was to happen, they could make sure they get treated for it if there's treatment. I would think that they, in Canada at least, where they have healthcare,
yeah.
that they're staying on top of getting checkups and stuff like that.
You would think. And he said that they all use condoms even when they did oral.
See, now that's the other thing that pissed me off. Was the fucking website, man. I can't get off of it.
Well, let's talk about it. Turb.
Oh, man.
Turb.
I haven't gone there. Have you looked it up?
I haven't looked it up. Not interested. I don't know if it's still in business. Turb.ca.
Oh, God.
It was basically a review site of prostitutes.
So shit brains who go on and objectify women. And, this one's got a hairy mole that I can't stand looking at. My dick can't get hard if I'm looking at this hairy mole.
Okay, he explains in the appendix that it wasn't a hairy mole.
I don't care. That explanation did not fix anything for me. Just so you know. That didn't fix anything for me because it completely takes out her, like, he doesn't fucking know. He doesn't know what she's been through and what she's doing.
He is paying her for sex.
She could have handled it. It doesn't fucking matter if you think she could have handled it. You have no idea.
He's paying her for sex.
I don't care. He can turn around and walk away if he doesn't want to do it.
It's kind of hard.
No, it's not.
But
it's not hard to walk in and pay somebody for sex, but it's hard to say, you know what? This isn't my jam.
Did he not do that several times? The one woman, he turned around and left, and he'd already given her the money.
Okay, if he's going to complain about the way that she has a hairy mole, then he can fucking turn around and walk away.
And he did.
No, he didn't. He fucked her.
No, maybe that one, but there was one that he left. One of them he left. One of them
he left because she was late and left him standing on a street corner.
One of them, he gave her the tip, and even she said, "Are you sure about this?" And
the kids couldn't stay hard.
And he's like, "Well,
erect." Am I being too vulgar?
It's all right. He's like, "Well, I kind of already handed her the money." So.
Maybe we should put like a little content warning at the top of this, like we're talking about prostitution. Like,
yeah, maybe. But
anyway, yeah.
So I mean, the appendix.
Okay, so the turb. Let's get back to
turb. Yeah.
Okay, so it's just a bunch of assholes that go on there and say, oh, and that's the other thing that bothers me is that they're listing like what they'll do, like the bareback blowjobs. Like maybe she just fucking did it with you, and maybe she changes her rules with other people. Don't set expectations there that she's going to set up every time that she's going to do bare. Maybe she just did it for you that one time because I don't know, she felt comfortable with you or something. Who the fuck knows? Like that completely takes away her. Because what if somebody gets pissed off that she won't give him a bareback blowjob now because she did it for this guy on Turb?
Yeah,
it sets these women up for violent situations. I feel like,
well,
potentially violent.
Potentially. But let me ask you, do you look at reviews on Amazon when you're spending money on something?
No, not really.
I do.
I really
do you look at reviews at restaurants?
Okay, but it's different.
Are you going to go to a 1 out of 5-star restaurant?
Do you think that everybody that you have slept with has the same experience with every other person that they've slept with?
Probably not.
Exactly. It's never going to be the same twice. When you get something from Amazon, you're getting the exact same thing that 50 other people. Now, their experience with this exact same thing is going to be slightly different because they're a different person and they have a different life.
Right.
So their review is going to be different than yours.
Yes,
you have to take everything. You have to take everything with a grain of salt. You can't just read a review and be like, obviously this sucks or whatever, But
for the person that bought the back massager that actually uses it as a back massager.
Wait, what? Oh, as opposed to a vibrator, which is an intended purpose?
Yes.
Have you seen reviews like that? Oh my God. Do they exist?
I don't know.
We need to go. Do you remember, God, this is so off topic, but George Takei used to go on the funniest things. He used to go on the funniest things on Amazon and make these reviews that were so hilarious.
What are you talking about?
George Takei.
Yeah, he did it
He would
where?
do these hilarious Amazon reviews on things that like,
Just
I don't
weird
know. I
things.
can't. Just weird things. I can't think of even what the things were off the top of my head, but they were just. He would.
Do you
post.
Do you want to hear my prostitution story?
Yes, please give us your prostitution story. It's not what you think.
It's not. So I'm thinking that it was 1990, possibly 91. I was delivering USA Today, and I had a station wagon because I'm 99% sure this was the car I had.
Wait, you had a station
I
wagon?
had a station wagon that
Was it yours?
my brother's girlfriend's grandfather sold me because my car had died.
Wait, your brother's girlfriend's
Grandfather.
grandfather?
Yeah.
How did I not know?
Previous girlfriend.
Well, I assumed it wasn't current.
And what happened was my car died. I'm delivering USA Today. You know, I got to get up at 4 a.m. and deliver newspapers.
Right.
So I needed a car. My car died. So
Paper boy.
I got, yes. Hey, 1991. That's when USA Today was brand new.
Oh, it was 1991. Really?
It was very new at that time.
How'd you get a hot shot?
Because my brother had a job, so he got me one. So anyhow, and I'd lost my job, so I was in between things.
Damn nepotism.
So what happens is
USA
I'm in my
Delivery
station wagon.
Boys.
I'm in my station wagon, and I'm cruising down.
You probably shouldn't use the word cruising.
Cruising down either Broadway or Genesee Street in Buffalo. I'm heading, and I think it was Broadway because I rarely went down Genesee by myself.
Broadway is dark tonight.
And that's where that song comes from. And I get to a stoplight, and this woman comes up to the passenger window, and she goes, "Can you give me a ride?" And I'm like, sure. So she gets in, and I look down, and between us, I forgot what it was. Was it my wallet or something? I think my wallet was sitting between us. I'm like, oh, fuck.
Oh, my God. I don't think you did.
Because then I start to drive, and I'm like, oh, fuck. Did I just pick up a prostitute? I'm like, why did she want to get in my car? She said that she had to go down. She needed to go somewhere, and she needed a ride, and it was just this weird thing.
What was she wearing? I'm curious.
I have no idea. This was a long time ago. I don't remember.
But you're still so certain that it was a prostitute. Maybe it wasn't even a prostitute.
I'm pretty sure it was. Because then, as my brain is running through all this.
Why would you pick her up?
This is like literally the whole thing took like 2 minutes.
I have never known you to pick up a hitchhiker.
That was the only
you
hitchhiker.
Don't even glance.
I never picked up a hitchhiker in my life. Before that or after that. That was the only one.
Maybe you were kind of hoping that you'd get something out of it.
No, I didn't. She took me by surprise.
Yeah, I bet she did.
She did.
Do I not know this whole story?
But we went down. It was only a few blocks, a couple lights, and I'm like, I'm going this way. And she's like, oh, I was going to go that way. I'm like, well, I'm going this way. You're going to have to get out. And I made her get out, and then I left, and I never saw her again.
You never looked for her when you drove down. You had to have driven that route.
No, I don't know. I probably didn't go that way again for a long time.
Oh my!
I don't know. I have no idea. But yeah,
that poor woman.
There's only 2 things like that have ever happened to me. I never had anybody buy alcohol. I never bought alcohol for anybody underage.
Right.
Except for on my 21st birthday.
My God, that is so funny.
On my 21st birthday, some kids stopped me outside of a convenience store and said, hey, could you go buy us alcohol? And I'm like, yeah, sure.
Oh my God.
So I went, I bought it. And that was the only time I ever did that.
That's terrible.
Yeah, I know. Anyhow, we're digressing. So
just a little bit.
So the turb thing, it is weird. If I was spending $180 for a half hour of sex, I think I'd want to know what I was getting into.
So you're saying you would go to turb?
I would. Some of them were $200 an hour.
But you would also Facebook search somebody before going on a date with them.
Maybe.
So you're just kind of one of those people.
Maybe.
But can you acknowledge that it's shitty to be writing these reviews? Like, based on the kind of stuff that he said was in those reviews, it's like, really?
I know what you're saying.
And also based on the women's, like, they were terrified to even go look at the reviews. Like, that should tell you enough about them.
The one who he saw, I think was Anne, he saw multiple times. And he told her that she was on this site and she had a friend look at them because she wouldn't go on.
Right.
And as a writer, I get it. I don't like to read my own reviews.
Right.
Sometimes I do, and I get angry because I'm like, were you reading the same book? Or did you look at the same thing?
So imagine it being, I mean, writing is extremely personal. Imagine having sex with somebody and having them write a review about it. Everybody has a bad fucking day at work. Everybody has a bad fucking day at work. Can you imagine reading a review from somebody who had and they're the only ones that wrote the review about you, and that was just a bad day at work that day?
Yeah, it's tough, but that's
and so then somebody goes on and reads that, and then they have that bias in their head. They happen to get her or whatever, and oh yeah, that's who I ended up with at the brothel or whatever the fuck, because that's the person who showed up when I fucking showed up at the hallway, and they said, hey, you're cute.
Yeah, but that was like the first time he did it, and it sounded like that could have been a sex trafficking thing, the very first one he'd gone to.
You don't think other Johns go to sex trafficking things, please?
No, I'm saying that one sounds like it could have been. And I think he kind of admits that it may have been, but he had no idea at the time. I don't know. If you're spending $200 an hour, I think you expect to get your money. If you're spending $50 to go see
somebody
Kiss
is willing to have
or
sex
Garth
with you.
Brooks,
I'm sorry.
or you're spending $100 to go see somebody.
You know what he looks like? Like,
Listen,
I'm sorry, but he couldn't pay me to have sex with him.
I wouldn't have sex with him either. But
bingo.
But I wouldn't do it for free either. But my point is,
what?
My point is, if you're paying an entertainer for a good sum of money, you expect to get a good show. I saw the Backstreet Boys when my daughters were young, and one of them had a cold or pneumonia or something, bronchitis, something, but they came out and they put on a great show that you would have never known that they were sick.
Yeah.
My point is, if you're paying a good price for some type of
sex work to the Backstreet Boys?
They could be the same thing, but
no.
Is it entertainment? Was he paying for an entertainment?
Entertainment?
Was he paying for entertainment?
No.
I think he was.
I don't think so.
Getting his rocks off, that's entertainment.
I don't think so.
I think it is. For somebody like that who, during the book, he decides that he is somebody who doesn't believe in monogamy.
Okay, yeah, and?
So that's one of the reasons
I'm sorry, you can believe in monogamy and not see prostitutes.
Yes,
I'm sorry, I told myself I was not going to say prostitutes this entire time, and then I've been doing it. Sex workers.
And where's he going to get
with
sex
people
from?
that want to have sex with him? He just can't find any.
Okay, and maybe
Did he attempt to? I don't know. No, I have no problem with sex work. I have a problem with the way that he has this superiority thing about them. He just thinks that, it seems to me anyway, that he feels that he's owed this amazing show. And it's like, up front, you know how much you're paying for it. You're going to get, you know what you're going to get ahead of time. Because he said in the ads, it says right there if they'll do oral only or sex, right?
Right.
So he knows what he's getting ahead of time. He knows he's going to have sex. That's the expectation. It doesn't say you're going to have an amazing orgasm like you've never had before. Like that isn't
and there'll
part
be
of
fireworks
it.
and
yeah, we blow fireworks on it. No, that's not how it out of your ass. Yes, okay. We will light fireworks, shove them into your ass
backwards, right? So it goes into your ass. So okay, the point though is, I'm not saying that I 100% agree with this, but I think
agree with what?
I think if you're paying for some type of service,
I think
you expect to get good service, whether it's accounting or sex.
I can't. Sex is just something that is so. I mean, especially when you don't know where these people come from and what their background is.
I know that. But if your accountant makes a mistake, they're going to fix it. So you expect to get it.
Did these women not seem, at least even from the way that he wrote about them, it seemed to me like a lot of these women were like, willing to try and fix things. When the first time that he said that he decided he was going to leave, the woman's like, well, what did I do? Let me like it seemed like she wanted to go above and beyond to try and fix whatever the problem was. Like, let me help you get hard. I mean,
right?
Yes, it seemed like she cared.
Maybe, but he also said there was only one woman that ever looked him in the eyes. Most of them didn't kiss. So it was just a pure sexual intercourse.
Yeah, but that's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. They're not there to have a fucking relationship with you.
But then he would sit and talk with them for 20 minutes afterwards.
Did he say that he sat and talked with each of them for 20 minutes afterwards?
No, because sometimes he only paid for 30 minutes. And
exactly.
He didn't have enough
time. He's paying for their time.
He paid for 30 minutes with the one. 20 minutes in, he realizes it's been 20 minutes that they've been sitting and talking, and he's got 10 minutes to bang her. And that's all he's got.
Do you hear what you're saying?
What?
Do you hear the way you're talking about these women?
I said that because that's the way he was thinking.
I know, but that's my point. That's my point. That's how he thinks of these women. They're just objects that he sticks his dick in.
Okay. So
that's the problem. And he talks about how objectification is not an issue with prostitution. And it's like, yeah, it fucking is, because you're objectifying these women.
So the back of the book, he's got like 32 appendices. Mm-hmm. He's got the normalization of prostitution, sexual rights, that you own your own body, and he believes that Johns shouldn't be punished because
of course he believes that.
But he also believes that the women shouldn't be punished either.
Of course.
But in Buffalo, they had John TV. They used to arrest the Johns, and they would put their picture on TV. That was to try and scare the people that are Johns.
And did it scare them? Did it do anything?
The problem was
prostitution.
The problem was they were going after prostitutes who were standing on street corners,
right?
Which is different. That disrupts a neighborhood, and it makes neighborhoods unsafe. And in the neighborhoods that they were in,
but tell me why it makes them unsafe.
Because it brings a bad element of crime around them too.
Why?
Probably pimps. Probably a lot of that.
You say probably, but like
it did. They were in neighborhoods that people couldn't let their kids go out. I mean, they got prostitutes standing on the corner.
Prostitutes didn't do anything to them. Were the prostitutes going up to the kids and being like, "Hey, you want to pay for a?"
There are prostitutes that do that. They used to do that.
Wait, what?
They would, not to kids, but they would. Did you never see that? You're driving down a street, you stop, and they come right to your window?
No, never.
They come right to the window, and they're like, "Hey, baby, what's going on tonight?"
To children.
Not to children.
We're talking about children here.
I know that, but my point is
the prostitutes that come up to them.
That kind of stuff disrupts a neighborhood, and it makes it unsafe and unfriendly.
Okay, so let's imagine for a moment the future that Chester creates, in which prostitution is just a normal everyday thing that everybody just
pays for sex.
Some guy walks up. This is the exact scenario that he is. A guy walks up to a woman in a hat shop. She's working at the hat shop. This is her everyday job, and he comes up and he's like, "I'd like to have sex with you," and she says, "Okay, it'll be $100 an hour or whatever." It's not that, but whatever. And so he agrees to it, and they go out, and he pays her $100 for the hour of her time, and I don't know, they have sex. I don't remember what the story is, but my point is, so this is a normal thing. She tells her friends that this is what happens because all of them do it, and so this is like normal everyday life. So imagine that scenario.
Mm-hmm.
So is it weird to have somebody standing on the street offering up their services now?
Yeah.
Still.
Yes.
Even though everybody does it.
Yes, but that's not the way it works. That's not the way it worked in his thing. And he did say that he spoke to the one woman that he saw, and she didn't tell anybody. None of her friends knew.
Of course not.
Because she said
most people would not. How many Johns are there? I mean, sex work is the oldest profession, right? Like, how many people do you know that would admit that they ever used a sex worker?
I only know of one.
You do know somebody?
Yeah.
Really?
I know of. Yes, I know of one.
Who's used a sex worker?
Yes.
Wow.
And I sat in the back seat.
Wait, what? I thought you only had one sex worker story. I
sat in the back seat while the sex worker took care of them.
What the fuck?
So anyhow,
wait, you're not going to tell the story on air? Do I get it off mic? No. You've never told me this story before. How did we discuss this book and you've not told me this story?
The story just came to mind.
My God.
But the one woman said that she wouldn't tell anybody because she said that people would look down at her, and she said if one of her friends told her, she'd also look down on them. Down on her, even though she does the same thing. and again, it's because of society.
Yeah.
If it was just a normal thing, which he's trying to say that if it was normal, that if they made it,
If everybody did it, yeah.
decriminalized it, made it whatever, that everybody just did it, it's like nobody would ever think twice about it.
Now, what I want to know, I mean, I haven't looked into what he talks about is that, like, the violence is not typical, and I just can't imagine that that's true. Now, I haven't looked into it, so I can't say for sure one way or the other. But obviously, you hear about it a lot, and because it's something that's illegal, they can't go to the police about it because then they'd get in trouble. And he talks about
Yes.
that being an issue if you
Mhm.
make it something that you have to, like, be licensed to do it. But if they make licensing easy and non-restrictive, then I think licensing would give them more protection than not.
What
And
he says is decriminalizing prostitution will make it more likely that a sex worker would report this sort of crime.
Right.
But decriminalization won't completely eradicate violence against prostitutes. But it'll give give them an option to deal with it.
There's no job that is completely devoid of violence, right? Like, I mean, how many women go to work in an office and they're sexually harassed on a daily basis? We know that.
Mhm.
So there's always going to be that element of it,
Right.
no matter what, even if it's legal.
Right.
I don't know that I agree with his argument that if we put not restrictions, but regulations on it, like they need to be licensed, that it's going to make it so that there's a black market that, like, not everybody would.
Well, he doesn't believe that. He believes your body, your money. You do whatever you want with your body. If you want,
and that it's a gift.
Charge,
the money that you get is a gift. Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you want to pay somebody to have sex, or you want somebody to give you money to have sex.
See, that's
the
problem. That's your first thought, that you want to pay somebody to have sex, and it's like, well, maybe that person doesn't want to get paid to have sex.
Well, no, but that's what I said.
Uh-huh.
I'm saying if the other person wants to accept the money, not just that
if somebody wants to charge money to have sex with you, that's what you meant, right?
So, but there's something that we discussed previously.
Uh-huh.
He talks about how he I think it's in the beginning of this.
I think I just tweeted about prostitution. I should have said sex work.
I forgot where it was, but he says that when he was younger, he would see a woman, and sometimes they'd flirt with him, and he didn't know how to flirt back because he was a nerd, and then he would kick himself.
So nerds don't know how to flirt?
He just was that kind of. He was probably introverted, and he said that he would kick himself later for not doing it, but then once he got older and he thought about it, he realized that
once he started paying women for sex,
then he realized that he didn't. What right did he have to, that woman didn't necessarily want to have sex with him
or be flirted with?
I'm sorry?
Or be flirted with. He had no right to just flirt with some strange woman on the street because she's a strange woman on the street, and he should just keep his fucking mouth shut.
But he didn't when he was younger. He didn't.
But that's only because he's getting sex on a regular basis. So he thinks that unless he's not, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's so fucked up that men think that they're owed sex in order to, why does he have to get to a point that he's paying for sex, and so he's got sex on a regular basis, so now he doesn't have to flirt with strange. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
But they're different time periods, though, too. He talks about when he was young, he did that, the flirting stuff.
Okay.
But through all these appendices, he goes through everything. He tries to do both sides and tries to come up with an answer, but usually it's skewed towards what his belief is.
He's like shaping feminism, and I don't know.
Human trafficking, sex slaves. He tries to go through a lot of pimping, exploitation. He says that he doesn't believe.
He touches on it.
He doesn't believe that any of the women that he saw appeared to be, especially the ones.
Would you want to believe that? Would you want to believe that somebody that you fucked was a sex slave? Would you want to believe that? No,
I would not.
I would not want to believe. Of course, you wouldn't want to believe that. So, of course, you're going to do everything in your power.
Again.
Huh?
I said I'd probably call again, though.
You'd probably call again so that you could help them, right?
Oh, that would be the exact
reason sure. Yeah. Yeah.
But then drugs and everything. All of that stuff. And that's the thing. We seem to always hear the worst of everything when you hear about it. You hear about prostitutes who are, drug addicts, and that's the reason why they're doing these things.
Oh yeah. Oh fuck. That
and-
pissed me off so much. They make an argument about addiction is a choice. People choose addiction, and as soon as I read that, I was
Yeah.
like, "Fuck you, man."
Yeah, I think that's kind of went downhill from from there. And he quotes books. He's got a whole bibliography and everything.
Anybody can write a
But
fucking book.
I understand that. My point is, I don't agree with that either.
Okay,
I think
woohoo!
addiction is not a choice.
No.
That's why there's a lot of them. And he talks about taxation, male prostitution, but then he allows anybody that was in the book, he allowed them to read it, and if they wanted to comment on it.
All the sex workers too? I missed that part.
He did ask them.
Oh, okay.
Only a couple of them commented, but and he clarified some things too about them. But we won't give away the end of the book, which is interesting considering the way it began.
I didn't really think of it as a surprise ending, I guess.
Well, it kind of a surprise ending.
Sure.
The book's from 2011.
I know. I tried to think about where my mind was in 2011.
I mean, it's 8 years ago.
Yeah, it's an older book. That's why I was surprised that there's not any. You didn't see anything that had come out since. I was kind of surprised.
He might have had something out, but some of these guys take a while to get some.
I'm sure
some new stuff out.
It takes time, and you have a story, but you have to draw all the stuff out and edit and all that stuff. Anyway, my point being, I try to think about where my mind was in 2011 and how I would have read this book differently in 2011.
You would have,
because I'm a different person now
you
than
are,
I was.
yes,
that many
you are
years ago.
you are much different, and I don't think you would have had the same reaction to the entire book.
To the entire book, probably not.
No, I don't think so.
But it still would have kind of sat on me, like, really. I don't know. Objectifying women is really. I honestly, back in 2011, I probably thought prostitution shouldn't be legal.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a time in my life that I thought abortion shouldn't be legal.
Anal sex too.
I don't know that I ever thought about the legality of that. But I do remember thinking that it was a terrible thing.
Yeah, that's for another show. But
we don't have to get into that.
But anyhow, yeah,
that sounded really homophobic, and I am like queer as fuck, man. Like I don't. The way
there was nothing negative about it.
The way that you stated it made it sound like I'm really homophobic, and I'm not.
There's
at all.
nothing negative about it. It was just
sex ed. Joke. Growing up in sex ed.
Yeah,
we don't have to go into it, but
no,
sex ed in what was it, seventh grade or 8th grade, whatever it was. It was just terrible. Like teaching you that.
I didn't even have that.
You didn't have any sex ed in 8th grade?
8th grade.
7th, 8th, whatever.
I have no idea.
So like 5th grade was like, this is what they separated the boys.
Yes, I do remember that, like in the GM, but I don't remember learning anything.
So then we had one male teacher in all of elementary school. Elementary was K through 6, right? And they in 5th grade, they separate all the boys and girls, and the boys all went to the male teacher's room, and he showed the stupid video.
Pulled his pants down and showed everything.
This is what it looks like, boys. Slapped him in the face with it.
Wow, it was big. I slapped him in the face with it. What?
And then, okay, so the girls, okay, so they showed the video. This is, your growing, changing body, whatever. Okay, so apparently, I wasn't in this class, but apparently the girls went back into the room and there's a big penis drawn.
Oh my gosh.
Drawn on the board. And the teacher,
it
was, dry erase, whatever. The teacher got all embarrassed and went up and erased it really fast.
Oh, because the boys had been there.
Because the boys were in there and he was showing them a diagram. And
well, wasn't that part of the story there? Didn't the girls, weren't they supposed to learn what the penis was?
No, that wasn't in 5th grade. You didn't learn about that.
Oh.
In 6th grade, the tapes reversed. So then we got to see the boy tapes.
Oh.
And the girls got to see the boy tapes, and the boy got to see the girls.
Yeah.
They completely left out intersex people, and certainly nothing about queer anything. You were just learning about how the bodies work. But okay, so intersex people certainly were left out of that. And I mean, I would venture to guess there was probably at least one intersex person in my school, but whatever. Anyway, so then I want to say it was 8th grade, but it could have been 7th grade. Then you learn like the real sex ed. which in some schools is like abstinence only. And I don't remember what ours was, but I remember like a few years, like our teacher told us that she used to do the condom on the banana thing, and
Got complaints.
the community had out. The
They didn't
community
like.
was outraged.
They had a problem with her banana. Huh?
I learned that the students learned how to.
My son came home and he said that you put a condom on a banana.
So she could only because I think that they used to have you put the condom on the banana, right? And so then
all the boys were getting hard while they were doing it.
I don't fucking know. So they could only show. She could only show them what a condom was, and to make sure that you did it properly and like didn't put it on the wrong way.
So
and
then she
flip
showed
it
them.
over.
She put it in her mouth and she showed how to put it on the banana herself.
I remember one time you put a condom on and you did it the wrong way, and then you flipped it over, and my mind immediately went back to like 7th grade. I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna get pregnant now because that fucker just put the condom on wrong. Of course, I didn't say anything, but
oh my god,
that's how much is ingrained in my mind, you know. And there was, of course, no sex ed about queer stuff at all. And I don't know when. I mean,
that was a while ago.
I lived in a tiny community. I'd like to think that it changed, but I bet it hasn't.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, small communities are tough.
Yeah. Luckily, our kids are going to have better.
We hope so.
They will, because they'll have us to talk to.
Well, that's true.
We talk about stuff all the time. We're open and honest with our kids. So.
We are. So anyhow, I liked the book Paying for It by Chester Brown. I did like it. It was interesting.
Can you at least admit that he objectifies women?
Yes, he objectifies women. I agree that he does objectify women. And I guess because of his profession, that's probably why he keeps notes like he keeps.
You think?
Yes.
Or do you think
because
that
seriously, 1990,
I don't think he's
1996 or 2001, the first time he's going to a prostitute.
I think he's
do you think he's going to say, "Oh, I think I'm going to write a book about this"? This is the very first time he's going.
No, I think that he is not neurotypical. I don't think he's neurotypical. I think that he keeps notes like that because he's not neurotypical.
No, that could be.
Yeah.
That could be. Anyhow, I like it. I like his work. I like paying for I Never Liked You is downstairs. Probably won't review that one, at least for a while.
Is it?
I don't remember. It's autobiographical. But a lot
You're
of these,
make me read it, aren't you?
a lot of these stuff that these guys do. Seth is different. His stuff is different.
Okay.
He does like about his growing up and stuff.
Louis
like
Riel, did you read that?
No, I don't. I'm not interested in that.
Oh, okay.
That's like history.
You like the
History
autobiographical?
bothers me.
I like the autobiographical stuff too. Like a lot of the queer stuff that I've read is that way.
Yeah. We've got some coming up. I've got one Calling Dr. Laura. I got to read. We're going to be doing that one soon.
I can't wait.
We've got some more ones. If you've looked at our what is it? The picture you've got? Did you put it on Instagram and Facebook or Twitter?
Yep.
Yeah. We've got
It's
a bunch.
all of them.
We've got
So many.
The Story of My Tits by Jennifer Hayden. What was that other one?
I don't know.
Yes.
Solo.
Yes, the My Lesbian Experience with Loneliness.
That's right.
There's two of those, but we're going to be doing all these. Plus, there's a whole bunch more. We've got stacks of books. So we've got a ton of great stuff coming over the weeks and months.
Find us on Twitter.
Yep, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. If you want to email us,
Novel Podcast.
Yep, email us, graphicnovelpodcast@gmail.com.
Yep.
And I am Mike.
And I'm Parker.
And this is the Graphic Novel Podcast.